Building an e-commerce business is very challenging. It requires a multitude of talents and skills that is nearly impossible to get all in one person. But that's also the beauty of e-commerce, the fact that you have to get so many faculties together to build a whole. We created Intrepid Sellers podcast to bring you all the latest trends in the e-commerce industry, but also to discuss the challenges and the hurdles that every seller needs to go through when building a successful e-commerce business. That challenge is even more cumbersome if you're aiming to expand your business abroad to other markets. That's why in our previous episode, we brought many specialized professionals to tell us about their experience and the most significant aspect in their journey in e-commerce. Today, we're bringing Madalina Vasile, who not only is a great professional, but having worked for a number of large retailers, but also a seller herself. I'm also very happy because she's the first woman to guest in our show. And I want you, the listener, to pay attention to what she has to say because she has plenty of experiences and stories that many of us sellers can relate to. If you like this conversation, please consider subscribing to our channel. My name is Rafael Berti, and this is the Intrepid Sellers. Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining our show. We have a very special guest today here, Madalina Vasile. And hi, Madalina.
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Rafael?
I understand that you're working from Barcelona these days, huh?
I'm in Barcelona for a few days.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, once again, thank you very much for coming to our show. We're very happy that you're here. And like we do with every guest, I'd like to start a conversation by asking you to tell us a little bit about you and your e-commerce experience.
Okay, so I am Madalina, as you said. I am from Romania. Nothing but so in holidays only in Barcelona. um, I'm a e-commerce and marketeer for some time now, over 10 years. I have also my own business. Actually, I have two businesses. One of them is in, of course, in e-commerce. I have a store which is selling bio food, but not only. We have a lot of other assortments. I don't know what to say. I have an international experience. I also work in countries like Poland, Hungary, Bulgaria, Greece, and I aim for more.
Sometimes, in our work with some brands, brands are usually relegating all of the, everything facing the customer to the retailers. And sometimes the retailers are not representing the brand the best way possible in terms of how they describe the products, how they describe, the whole branding and the brand worth on product description, for instance. I'm sure that as a consultant, you have seen a lot of e-commerce that they don't put much effort in product description. And then at the same time, also one of the things they mention is precisely the fact that sometimes the customer, they want to know something more about the product, and the people running the customer support from the retail side, they are not that knowledgeable about that about the product itself. So I was just wondering if it is, at least that has been my impression, but I don't know. Is this something that you have also encountered? Do you also see this happening a lot in e-commerce? Retailers are not doing some of obviously some retailers do a really great job on listing products, but is it also recurrent for you to see that some retailers, they're not putting that much effort on listing products?
Of course. So it depends very much on how you see things, because there are retail as Amazon and Amazon, which are giving you as a
Hmm.
producer the space to put the description of your product as extensive as you want it. Because they support pictures, they support videos, a lot of text, and this kind of stuff. Now, if you have your own e-commerce, as we are doing, one of the things that I measured when I bought it over was this part. Is I was looking at the product to see how is their description made. Now, if you go according to Google, you need to have unique description. Otherwise, you can see as doubling, and your index it's not that good. But anyhow, no description. It's not the way to go. Now, again, it depends very much on how much effort do you want to put on this. Because there a few years ago, it was I say a saying that the content is key and king. Uh, and the effort here, it depends on how much money you want to invest and so on. Because, for example, I was in a manga at the beginning, and when I learned about content and product description, because I didn't know anything about this kind of stuff, I noticed that there was a trend in the company to start doing videos to explain how to use it. And I think this is the main mistake that the producers are doing, because they are starting their description saying, "Oh, my product is beautiful. It has the quality, it has the features, it has the colors, blah blah blah." But they don't put any emphasis on fact. Okay, you need to use it like this. These are the main characteristics. This is the specific that you need to know about the product, and this is how you can compare it with other products if you want. Because
Mm.
this is why I'm saying it depends on the retail what and the producer what the producer wants to sell. Because if you want to sell a good story, which is pretty good, fine. But I think when it comes to product like, I don't know, television, mobile phones, laptops, washing machine, even, you need to put emphasis on the feature, technical feature, and to explain them in colloquial language. If you are selling a
Mhm.
blouse, of course, you need to have the materials, how you wash it, and this kind of stuff. But you need to, I know, say a little bit about the trend, about the fashion, where it stands, and so on. I don't know if you look in the market, but I'm looking not only in Romania, even Zalando, because Zalando it's a very big store. Even Amazon in this case, on fashion product, they don't put any emphasis. It's like, oh, this is a blouse, buy it. Okay, but what is the material? How do I wash it? I don't know. What is the size chart? Not this kind of stuff that's really important to me, because when I'm in the store, I can try it on. I can put my hands on it. I can feel if I like it or not. But when I'm buying online, if you don't have a good picture, it's like I don't know what I'm buying. And I think, for example, in the fashion sector, this is a like a big issue from my point of view, because nobody looks on this. I think Zara at this point is the only retailer that has this description on their products, like how to wash it, what is the material, and the composition. But I didn't see anyone,
Mhm.
at least in online.
Yeah, I think many retailers, they are focusing too much in describing the product only as it is, or sometimes not even that, not even the basic of what the product is, and forgetting to list the benefits of the product, right? Why you should buy this product or my product instead of the competitors? Why is this, this product any better of any other product, similar product there is in the market, right? And
Yeah,
my understanding is that retailers putting effort in describing the product is the step number one, or the basics for them to succeed in the local market. Because then my understanding is that, if you do well in your local market, once you go abroad and once you want to go international to reach new markets, you're probably going to have to encounter issues with the language as well. And a different customers, customer support in a different language too. And then, so how the product is will fit with the market as well, but also how it's going to be marketed and presented to the audience there in the new market. Isn't that so? Would you agree with me on that?
yeah. So the language barrier, it's a fact, because I speak English for I don't know how many years, and I still have problems with using the correct times, or correct pronunciation of some words. I'm used to that. I have no problem. I know that, okay, this is how I am. I realize it, immediately after I'm doing it. But when it comes for a product description, to translate your product description from Romanian to English, or from English to Romanian, or from any other language to any other language, you need to make sure that you actually understand the phrases. And I had this situation several times, like doing this translation and translate word by word from English to Romanian, and of course the sense wasn't the same because you are translating something like it has a
Hmm.
flavor for not it has a nutty flavor and a full mouth of whatever chocolate whatever, and you just if you translate that word by word in Romania, it just sounds like something someone didn't learn, I don't know, any grammatical or any Romanian language in their school or something like this, because the sense is not the same. And I think again this is something very important, because besides those that description that you need to have, and besides those translation that you need to have in those in the local languages where you want to sell, even if it's Amazon or I don't know, it's Germany, Poland, Greece, Hungary, Bulgaria, and so on, you need to know the expressions, because there are some certain expression that people that local are using, and they are very relevant for them, and not to put on top of that the keywords that you need to have for SEO. So there are all kind of stuff that you need to look when you translate your product description to one language from one language to another. But in the same time, you need to make sure that you have the best description possible, because even though it's shorter maybe than the original description, but if it's good and you translate it correctly, it should help you to be visible and your product to be bought.
Hmm. Yeah, so I want to recap a little bit because you mentioned you worked on the international expansion of EMAG, and obviously you have plenty of experience on the international expansion. And we're talking about the description of products, but then I wanted to ask you, what would be the number one challenge or or things that a seller should be prepared when they want to enter a new market, in your experience?
The culture. uh, so when
Mm.
people understand that they are talking and selling to other people, they for sure understand how to do business there. But the culture, it's the most important thing that I can think when you enter in the other country, because the same product, you can market it some way in Romania, but you have to address it different in Poland or Hungary or in Bulgaria or in Greece or in Spain, France, wherever, because they are seeing the product different. They are seeing the product from their own point of view, from their own filters, and from their own experience. And the same experience, I again, it's a personal example, and I have it these days. So because I came to Barcelona on Saturday, and I went to several restaurants and terraces and so on. And what I noticed is that on each of on the terraces and restaurants, they have a different brand of still water, and I was wondering why is that.
Mhm.
And of course, I asked Rod at some point. I said, "Okay, why?" I mean, I didn't find the same brand of water, not even in the store. So if I go in the store, I have another different brand, and each of the brand is tasting different. If you can taste water, I mean, and I think this is very important for them because most of them are local brands, which are developing here, and they're putting in certain context, because I went to one restaurant which is called it's not necessarily called, it's by the sea, and we're overlooking the port and the sea, and they had this volcanic water. This is the name, whatever. And I asked them why, and they said, okay, we know that we are not the cheapest restaurant. We know that we have one great view, and we want that our customer experience to be from the water to the food. And that's why we put this volcanic water, which means it's clean, it has minerals, it has whatever all kind of stuff that you cannot find in the still water from the store. So if you come here, you have the best experience from the water until, I don't know, paella or whatever you are eating. So
Mhm.
it's the same when it comes to the products, and when you want to go outside from your country, you need to understand that the people there are seeing different. If you go uh, with one product in one country, the experience with that product for those people are different from whatever experience you have in your country.
Right. So basically, what you're saying, when you want to sell abroad, it's not enough to simply have a good description of the product, but you need to adapt the information about your product to convey the message to the audience there, because they have a completely different understanding of your product. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting point, because it's very common that many sellers, when they think about going international, all they do is to find someone to do the translation. And I've seen many sellers actually go after Google Translate and use a machine translation to translate their listings, and then just go. We actually have a very famous case. I don't know how much you heard of this, but we had Amazon launching in Sweden a couple of years ago, and Amazon has an auto translation for all the listings,
And
right? And and then many sellers actually rely on this auto translation, and because basically it makes it, it's effortless to just get everything, all your content translated. It would be very difficult for you, how much time and you would need to spend to translate your products to a new language. So basically, in order to expedite it and make it really fast, they use this automated translation, and Amazon is no different. They use that, and turns out there was a lot of, it was a horror story, because many of the listings that were coming out with a lot of swearings and curse words in Swedish, and things that you would not expect to see on Amazon. So they even go against the Amazon's policy, really. And then it was so funny to see that happening. And I'm pretty sure that this is something that is been happening for other sellers as well. And this is actually something that we tell also sellers. Like, we have sellers from the US, they want to sell in the UK, or vice versa. And despite being the same language, both countries are speaking English, the way the customers find the products, the way they want to see the product, or what's the most important aspect of the product, sometimes is different. So you cannot expect to sell, to be successful in selling your product in the UK the same way you are in the US, simply because you're using the same description. You have to adapt. Sometimes if in America they try they sound very salesy in the description. In the UK, sometimes that's not the best way to convey your message. That's not really the best way. I mean, it depends, of course, different situations, different products. I'm just talking general terms here, right?
yeah.
What do you think of this?
So if it's not iPhone, which I mean, it's iPhone. You don't need a description for that. To just say the name and that's it. And if it's not iPhone or
Yeah,
Tesla or something like this, yeah, you need to pay attention for what you are writing there. I have a funny example, but I'm trying to remember the whole words, because I was at some point, I saw a description for a coffee. I think it, whatever, doesn't matter the brand. It was a very capsules or something like this, and from my e-commerce, and the translation that the previous owner gave to it, it was something, a horsey flavor. I'm translating word by word from Romanian, and I was, well, I think that's not what what you wanted to say. I mean, we don't sell horses here. For sure, we sell coffee, but so it took me a while, and what I've done, I went to the producer website and looked for that product on the producer website, and saw the and saw the description there. And it was something that it's a very strong flavor, like I don't know, a horse. I don't know exactly the expression that they use, and I said, okay. So we want, if you want to translate this correctly, you should say that it's a strong flavor, it's well done, it's dark roasted, or what, something like this in Romanian, because people will understand, and it's correctly from all point of view, because we, of course, we are not selling coffee made by any horse. So yeah, and there are all kinds of examples in this point. What I appreciate, for example, in Amazon, and from what I remember, and from what I saw these days, also among has this part. It has this part where you can answer from producer point of view. I don't know, I think you make an account. I didn't use the feature, but I saw some answers on both websites. And you make an account as a producer, and if someone has a question about your product, you as a producer, doesn't matter who sells it, um, well, go there and just answer to the question for your customers and try to explain it better what he or she needs to know. So I think that's a very good feature, and not everybody is using it, and at least they should. I mean, if you have it there and you have the opportunity to speak with your clients and to sell a product better, doesn't matter if you sell it from Amazon, from Emark, from I don't know, Allegro, Etsy, or whatever other website is there. If you have a chance to sell it and to promote it and to make an image for in front of your customers as being a human producer, because the sense of this behind of this is you have a human touch even though it's online. You know that behind the big name of your brand, it's a person that can answer to your question. And again, the emotional part for the brands, because I was mentioning I'm doing also marketing, and I'm working now on some rebranding. And the most difficult part from a brand, and to how to put it in front of the people, is to be human, to show them that you are actually human. So it's not the brand that stands for, it's the humans behind the brand that stands for.
Mhm. Yeah, that's very nice. You said that. I actually have. I was just thinking to get a little bit of your brains, pick your brains into this. Let's imagine a situation where um, you have, someone comes with a brand. Let's say one of the most famous brands, largest brand for baby food in Romania, and they want to go to a new market, for example, Poland.
Mm.
What do you have, some kind of like a recipe or some kind of a checklist that you go through to, in order to, before you start the whole operation, what are the things, because we mentioned about the product description, we mentioned the translation and all that. These are very important aspects of, selling on another country. But is there anything else, like, or what are the things that you would go through in order to, let's say, if you want to start a project on selling a certain brand or launching a certain brand in a new market, what would you do?
So again, it depends on the target that the company has, or the brand has. But again, one of the most important aspects that you need to know before doing any other steps is to understand the market. I don't know how many of the brands that are not from Poland and that are coming to Poland, they know how is the e-commerce market there, because as my knowledge, Allegro is one of the most important and at the top player in e-commerce. So if you don't know what's happening on Allegro, how Allegro works, I don't know. I don't know if will help you to have success there. So you need to understand how the market works. And the other part, for example, in Poland, there is a very a strong price comparison website there, which is called Ceneo. And if you're not there most of the time, you're not relevant because people cannot find you. And the last data that I have is that it was holding around 75% from the market. So again, if you are not there with your product and you're not putting your website in your price in the price comparison, people have lower chances to get to know you. And the other part is to know where you are strong. Um, a few years ago, for example, TV was very strong in Poland. So if you wanted to grow and grow fast, you needed to go on TV. Otherwise, it was pretty difficult to make a name for yourself, because there was Allegro, there was MediaMart, and Empik, and other players that are very strong there and that put a lot of money in digitals, and there was a lot of competition all categories. So it doesn't matter if you had like a home and decor, children books, or I don't know, cosmetics and whatever else. You had a lot of competition in online, and you had to spend a lot of money in online just to be relevant for in the ads and searches and so on. But if you go on Teneo, and if you go on Allegro as a marketplace, or if you go even on Amazon, because Amazon it's in Poland, you have more chances to be discovered from your customers, for by your customers. So again, it depends on what you want to achieve, because it may happen that you just want to be there, and if you have 3 4 10 orders per month for you to be okay and have enough patience to grow organically, which is again perfectly fine. If you want to grow fast, then you need to take into consideration what is happening into the market uh, as a competition. Nevertheless, I will always recommend to know your target and your customer, because otherwise you not know what you want to talk, what you need to talk there.
Hmm. I like that in your answer you mentioned you should be on a marketplace, you should be on comparison price websites. Would you say that and actually in your answer you also mentioned when so going to Poland you mentioned Allegro, which is the largest
Mhm.
marketplace there at the moment. And obviously, the whole idea behind my question with Poland is just hypothetical. But would you say that anyone wanting to entering a new market should try at least being one of the most popular marketplaces in the market?
Yeah, but even there, you need to know to understand their ways of working, because Allegro has a complex way of listing the products, talking to the sellers, and so on. But in the same time, I don't know. For example, I didn't work closely to how Amazon is doing, but I don't remember to have any reports from them. But what Allegro does, and I think you have to pay for it, of course, it's not free of charge. But they have certain reports helping you to know in each category what are the most selling products. And again, this is relevant if you want to know where you stand, because Allegro has this report and this way of ads on their website, where to place it. They have something called like shopping shops, and brand pages, and so on and so forth. So they have a lot of tools put on available for the sellers to access in order to make sure that they grow their business. And of course they have a lot of knowledge, and some of that knowledge they are giving to the sellers to report to, I don't know, in newsletter events that they are doing, in order for those sellers to grow and to grow the business. And I know for sure that because I'm a seller on Emag now, so I'm not working there, but I sell on their platform, so I know for sure that Emag is doing the same.
Hmm.
Okay, not all the reports, maybe not so I'm not comparing the two, like whatever Emag is giving you compared with Allegro, but they are doing the same. So they are putting on their disposal a lot of information. You just need to take it, learn it, understand it, and
Hmm.
put it in practice. And this is something that anyone should like profit by.
Hmm. It's interesting that you mentioned starting on the marketplace. Is there a reason why people should start in a marketplace? Why not, for instance, um, add a new language tab on their own website and start advertising in the market, in the target market they want to reach? Wouldn't it be, like sort of a cross border? Wouldn't that be better?
Again, it depends on what you want to achieve. I
Mm,
have a very good friend. He started a business in 2020, and he had the opportunity to buy some, I think, what was backpacks, certain backpacks. Um, and the first choice, because he didn't have the money to put on a platform like his own e-commerce store. He went on Emag and he started to sell on Emag as a seller. So in the first month, I think, I don't know, I don't remember exactly, but I'm just like putting out there that I don't think he sold around 200 or 300 euros, something like this. Now, because I actually met him, I met him a few weeks ago, so we went out for a coffee. He has 1,000 something orders per day, only from Emma. In the meanwhile, he started his own online store and he put there the products and he understood how to build it. But his best selling channel is still marketplace. So that's like it's a very like their example to understand why marketplace is helping you, because it is a platform with everything that you need, with all the tools, instruments, whatever, just to start a business without putting a lot of effort, like I know, to build SEO or ads or any kind of stuff. What you need to do is to put list your product, have a good product, of course. List your product, put a description on it, because even though it's a marketplace, you still need a good description and good prices.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to say is that, if I understood you correctly, is the fact that the marketplaces already have the traffic that you need,
Yeah.
because as a new brand, probably nobody knows about you yet. So you have to make a double effort in bringing traffic to your website in the target market,
Yeah.
and people need to gain the trust in your brand before they decide to purchase from you. Whereas of if they started with, let's say, Amazon or Allegro, which is a place they already know, there is some kind of trust already there, so they're trusting
Yeah, of
on the
course.
marketplace to purchase from you. So that it does make sense that you would have way more orders starting in a marketplace than if you would start with your own website on its own. And speaking of which, you mentioned at some point of our conversation here, but you mentioned that you also have your own e-commerce, right?
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Like what? There are a lot of stuff to
How?
say.
Well, you have plenty of experience from EMAG, and obviously you've been working for some of the larger brands. But then this e-commerce is more like it's your own, let's say your own baby. You give birth to it, and you're just like working it the whole from the ground up. And I think you're doing this with a family, right? Is with your brother.
Yeah.
So you have family working with you. How does that? What's the dynamic between the two of you? Who does what? And is your brother also literate in e-commerce as you are? How does that
No,
work?
I was mentioning, I think at the beginning, that he has an extensive experience in sales, and he knows very well how to negotiate. So the things are a little bit like I'm on the strategy part and ads part, and he's on the logistic and administrative part, and he's handling the payments and the products and the suppliers and the prices. I'm handling the other part, like to make sure that we are visible, that we have enough traffic, that I know we have enough orders, even um, product description, product names, SEO, and this kind of stuff. And actually, these days we have a project, and we started a project with someone in the market, because I don't have enough time to go for all of it, and I cannot know everything from scratch. So we hired someone to help us with the SEO part, and we should see some improvement in the next few weeks and maybe months, because it's a long term investment, and we know that. But I think it's the best investment that we can do at this point, because we want to grow organically. And of course, you need to have the ads, and we need to have the ads in order to sustain the store and to bring the traffic, because we are a small store. Um, but we need to understand that the organic part, and and this is the most difficult part as a dynamic between me and my brother, because
Hmm.
it's very hard to explain to someone what is organic and from where you grow it, and why, what it's at, and why you need it. And doesn't matter the experience, doesn't matter if you're smart or intelligent or something like it, because the algorithm in the back of this, they are very complicated and complex, and if you don't know a little part from each of the elements, it's really hard to understand why you need those tools. But I'm happy, because he's a very understanding brother, and at the same time he trusts me. So some of the time I don't need to explain, I just need to know, okay, we need to do this, please support me, and we will see later what are the effects. Now, as a small e-commerce and as a new business, we are struggling, of course, with being visible. But what we've done, and I think that's the best course of action that we've done so far, we went and imported some specific brands. I was telling you about keto products, and there are a lot of people that they want to go on the diet, but not only that, not I don't know, not necessarily to lose weight, but there are a lot of people that are using this kind of diet to just be healthy.
Eat healthy, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we went to and I brought this brands into Romania. From we have it from Germany and from Poland, and they are very successful because they are clean brands, they are green brands, they are bio brands, and we gain a lot of organic traffic from that category, from keto products. So that's the best part that we've done until now. And I must confess, we started by chance, so we didn't know. We just, okay, let's bring this on. They have good prices, they're interesting, let's see what they can do. And we are now in discussion with both of them to become the official distributor in Romania for their products.
Hmm.
But yeah,
That
it's a
sounds
big
really
stage.
cool. How,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it sounds really cool. How long this e-commerce has been running?
So the full time, because I was mentioning they we had it had the previous owner. It now has 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
And are you selling only in Romania,
Yeah.
or are you also going abroad? Are you also expanding the brand, or?
No, at the moment we're only in Romania. Of course, if I know if someone wants the products in Hungary or Bulgaria and so on, and they call us, and we do all the things possible to deliver to that person. But the website itself, it's only in Romanian. And at this
Mhm.
point, we don't plan to extend it because we need to establish it in the market here. So we need to make sure that we are stable here, we are growing here before making another step outside Romania.
Yeah. How is the competition being for you there?
On this specific category for keto products, uh, it's not that strong.
Hmm.
I mean, there are some brands in Romania and from some other distributor that are pretty good, but it's not that strong. So we are almost the only one that are bringing specific products. For example, we have a product which is called coconut oil with MCT and caprylic acid. If I hope I pronounce it correctly, and it until I didn't took over the store, I didn't know what that means. I was like, okay, something with coconut. And but after I read, I read the product description and what that oil does. It's an oil with zero carbs, so you can like make food like I don't know, fries with that oil. You can put it in your salad, you can put it in your coffee, and it gives you energy. And you don't need to use carbs for that energy, you don't need to use sugar for that energy. You just put that specific product and that's it, and it keeps you in the ketogenic state.
Hmm.
But again, this is very
Fair
specific,
enough.
but for me it was like, whoa, I didn't know that those kind of products actually they are existing.
Yeah, it's certainly quite an interesting experience. There's as a seller, we also get to learn a lot of things as we do it. We learn it on the job. But I'm actually got me curious. You're not the first Romanian we have on the show, by the way. I must point it out. But it's actually a great honor to have you here because you're the first woman to come
Oh,
and in this show. So that's actually something I'm very happy about. And and then this former guest that we had, we talked about Romania a little bit. So I wanted to hear from your perspective how are the Romanians in terms of using e-commerce and more in terms of the market, because you're mentioning your brand, there's not so much competition. But how are I'm assuming that the brands that you're selling, they're foreign brands,
yeah,
they're not from Romania.
yeah.
But how are the Romanians in terms of, would they prefer brands that come from abroad, or they're more into the locally produced kind of brands? I'm asking this because I'm trying to compare with Denmark, where I'm in, and here in Denmark, you see a lot of products with the Danish flag, and for some reason, the Danes they seem to enjoy more when they see the Danish flag because they see it's locally produced. I guess there's a little bit of trust, maybe also in terms of carbon emissions, because there's not so much transportation bringing from another country. Um, how do you see Romania in that sense? Are they more open for foreign brands, or they prefer locally?
So from where I stand, I believe that Romanians are early adapters. I
Mm,
mean, there are a lot of trends that are going on outside Romania that they are coming here in Romania, and they are pretty cool. And after that, and I don't know how to say, pretty explored afterwards. Regarding e-commerce, I think we are pretty online buyers, pretty good online buyers because of EMAG. I mean, if EMAG wasn't here and the brand didn't exist, or it was a small brand, I don't think the development of online Romania would have been here how it is today. But because of EMAG, and I see EMAG as a pioneer. I know it's not the fact that I worked there, it's the fact that this is the reality. They came here and they started to develop the market and the online market, and they are the point of reference. If you don't look at EMAG and learn from EMAG, you don't know how to do e-commerce here because they are very specific and they've done great stuff. Now the other part, I don't know what to say about the local part. And I'm saying this because I have like two sides of me that are going against each other.
uh-huh.
That's because when I go in to the shops and want to buy something, and especially food, I'm looking for local brands, local producers, because I want to sustain them, I want to support them, I want to be there for them because it's important for someone to buy their product, even though they're a little bit more expensive than the others, for example. The other part is the state and the government, which doesn't really help this part. They don't help the small producers, the little guys from, I don't know, the rural parts, to bring them in one association and to make them possible and strong enough to sell to big retailers or to big stores and so on. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle between you want to eat now and fast, or you want to go to one store to buy your weekly basket, or you want to go from one store to another just to make sure that you are buying from the local producer. And of course, there is this, as I was mentioning, the fact that we are early adapters, and I really believe that because there are a lot of trends that are coming from US mainly, and they're pretty big here. We are not, as Romanian, we are not saying no to big brands. We are saying no to, how to put this one, not so good behavior.
Hmm.
So what I noticed from Facebook comments mostly, if I'm going to the big brand pages, what I can say is that okay, you didn't deliver on time, your product was broken, the service wasn't that good. I had the warranty for the product, and I came to your service for repairing, but we kept the product there for 30 something days, and it's whatever. Or it's too expensive regarding the quality that you are selling. So what I'm seeing is that they're not saying necessarily no to the brand; they are saying no to the experience that the brand is providing. So again, it depends very much from where you are standing. I don't know what my colleague said in your discussion with him, but I'm more than sure that being again human and showing to the your customers that you are human, it's the best way that you can win your customer, because no customer will come and say, okay, you are absurd. If you go
Yeah.
to him, explain, okay, it's my mistake, I've done it. It's wrong from my part to do that. Here's how I can help you, and here's what I can give you instead of that, or whatever.
Hmm.
Nobody will say, okay, you're upset, I'm not interested.
Right. I've been to Romania a couple of times some years back, and I've read a few things about Romania as well. It's a lovely country, by the way. And there's some very interesting things that happened there. And I'm mostly looking at what happened during COVID. And a lot of people decided not to take the vaccination. And I read some researchers talking that a lot of that happened in Romania, but it also in other countries has to do with the people's mistrust in the government, in authorities. And I don't mean to criticize Romania in any way. My point with this is when we're dealing with e-commerce, and you mentioned already the fact that people are not getting a good service. When we're dealing with e-commerce, people we don't really know who's behind the website, right? We're not talking to a person. We basically just looking at a screen and we ordering something, or sometimes even from a phone. And remembering a little bit back when in my early days in e-commerce, um, I've done a little bit of customer support, and sometimes we would get calls from customers, some people who had they had a product ready. They were ready to buy. They have the product in the basket on the website, but then in the last minute, just before they enter their card details, they decided to give us a call because they wanted to speak to somebody. And sometimes their questions are not nothing really relevant. They just wanted to have the confidence that they are talking to, or there's an actual company behind it, and they're not just giving their money away to to some thief, some money, some scam, that sort of thing.
Mm.
Is how so in that sense, how are Romanians in terms of I know that there's a large adoption of e-commerce in Romania, but I'm just thinking if this is something that Romanians sometimes see suspicious of websites or the brands or things like that. Do you see this kind of behavior as well, where they call the company just to make sure that there is someone that they can talk to in case there's any problem or any issue? How does that happen there?
So, when COVID happened, I remember that after the first year, there were some statistics from Visa that the card online card payment was increasing almost 30% from all e-commerce orders. Now, going back to a few weeks ago, I remember that the government and that yeah, they want to issue a law or something like this uh, to oblige the couriers that are delivering with uh, cash on delivery. So when you have the cash on delivery, the couriers will be obligated to report that order and that person to the fiscal authority. And that's because after even though COVID happened, even though everybody was encouraged to pay by card and so on, they are still choosing cash on delivery. And there are multiple websites that have certain taxes. If you have 2 lays, 3 lays, whatever. So if you choose this method, that you don't if you don't pay with card online. Now the mistrust here comes from 36 years ago, 34 years ago, because of the communist area. When we went out from the Communist Party and we went as a democracy, um, we still have, even today in the culture, to solve your things if you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody.
Hmm.
And I can see that even today, because I myself was put in the situation at the beginning of the year where uh, I had to help my father because he went on a open heart surgery, and I literally couldn't find that surgeon, unless I was somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody to put me in contact with that surgeon. And I
Wow.
went to a private clinic. I didn't went to the state. And this culture, it's still here. I can see it less and less used by the Z generation. But we still need some more time to understand that you cannot do things because you know somebody, or you cannot choose things because you know somebody, and you need to choose it because it's the best option for you. And I think this is what is happening with brands and customer service and everything else, because it's like, if you trust that brand, but if you trust that brand, it means that you know somebody there, and you know somebody, not necessarily like one to one, like I know you. If it's like you know me and I knew someone that worked in Emma because I worked there, and that person maybe, yeah, and it's like, okay, I know somebody that works there, and I'm for sure that that's a trustworthy brand. Or if there is a unknown brand, and because, for example, in my shop we have, I think, 75% of our orders are still with cash on delivery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is because we are not known. We the people don't know us. The people, and of course they are calling. I placed that order, and I put there as a payment cash on delivery. That okay? And they're just calling to check if you have the order and if you are okay with that. And it's still happening today because the people don't know us.
Hmm.
Again,
It's
I
very
think this
interesting.
is a culture thing. That's why I was mentioning at the beginning. You need to know the content. This is a culture thing, and you need to understand that. And by the way, TV here in Romania, it's again a trustworthy channel for when you take the information. Not for me,
Hmm.
because I mean, I see the news, and I see how the television are interpreting the news according to their beliefs and political views and whatever. But there are still a lot of people that are seeing TV as a trustworthy channel for where they take the information.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's also one thing that you mentioned in your answer that I was actually curious, which would lead to my next question. It's because you mentioned about the Generation Z,
Mm,
and then I'm just thinking, this newer generation, they're digitally natives,
yeah.
and they're more accustomed to purchase online, interact online, so they have some kind of more trust on what's happening in digital world than people from our generation would have. And also because they don't have, you mentioned the communist times, which this younger generation might not have any remembrance, any memories of this period. So they would tend to trust a little bit more. So would you think that maybe cash on delivery is something that will wear off over time? People will be more confident to use credit card transactions in the future.
More, for sure. Yeah, for
Mm.
sure. Because what is happening with the children today is that they educate their parents. Because I noticed, I have a nephew. He is pretty young. He's 12 years old, but he's teaching his father a lot of stuff from the digital part. How to use a phone, how to use, I don't know, YouTube to answer whatever question that he has, and so on. So and my brother-in-law, he's a very smart guy. But it's not necessarily digital savvy. He doesn't work. He grew up in an area where digital was like there, but not necessarily for him. And but anyhow, his children, they are going and surprising him every day. He was mentioning, yeah, actually the other day that he has a very beautiful girl, 3 years old, and he went with her in the mall, in the commercial center, and she stopped directly at the iPad. I think, I don't know if it was in the store or in telecom store, doesn't matter. At an iPad, and she started to play and move her fingers around that iPad. And the sellers there come to him and said, "Do you have any iPhone or iPad at home?" He said, "No, we don't have this kind of stuff." And how does she know how to work on it? And she's 3.
Mhm.
Again, this is the generation that is coming, and that generation will educate their parents, because parents today, and it's something that I noticed in me, even though I don't have kids, but I have enough nephews and nieces to consider myself almost as a parent. Um, and my brothers and my sister and so on, that they have kids, and I can see myself in them, that they are actually listening to their children. And it's something that our parents didn't do, because they grew up in an era where this wasn't, I don't know, cool to be done. My parents
Hmm.
grow up in an area where, I don't know, you need to listen to your father, to your mother. You have an hour, you have a program, you have a schedule for everything. You don't need to like have an opinion about anything. You are a children. Today the things have changed,
Hmm.
and today the generation. So because I'm a millennium, so I'm also educated by the generation that growing up now, because I can see in
Hmm.
them the behavior that I'm seeing, for example, here in Barcelona, and I really like, or I've seen in States when I went there. Like it's literally freedom, no judgment, and most of the times, because again depends on the media, on the environment where you grew up. Uh, a lot of lack of aggressions. So, which is for me, it's like heartwarming to see that children today are more inclined to talk and to play with each other instead of like being aggressive with each other, like, and bullying and this kind of. So yeah,
Yeah.
again, it depends when from where you stand. At least maybe I have the luck to see only the good examples. I don't know.
Absolutely. This is a very interesting conversation that I think we'll have to take it on another time, because this in itself, it's a very long subject,
Yeah.
and I think I can say for both of us that in maybe 10, 20 years, e-commerce is going to be very different with the new generation, and a lot of advancements in technology and how you convey the products, and even for anything from the logistics to the marketing. It's going to be some very interesting times, but we have run out of time already,
Oh,
and it was lovely to have you here, Madalena. Thank you very much for coming to the show.
thank you very
And
much for having
is
me.
there any way?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Uh, is there anything else you would like to say? Can people get in touch with you if they would like to have a chat with you about your work?
Yeah, sure. They can get in touch with me on my email, which is madalina@brandeis.pro. It's my consulting company. And on my LinkedIn uh, and my Facebook, I'm not necessarily active, but I have it on my phone, so I can see if anybody will write me. And in the same time, I'm always available for a coffee with anyone who wants to have a chat about e-commerce, coaching, generations, and this kind of stuff.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Madalena. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Rafael.